Now I'm very happy to have Rachel come up, Rachel Schmidt, who made the film, and say a few words.
I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for coming out tonight, and to all the panel members that are here. I'm very honored that the Mayan Q'eqchi people trusted me to tell their story. This is more than just a human rights film. It's a living and breathing testimony for the Mayan Q'eqchi people to really have an opportunity to speak directly to audiences in Canada, the US, and across the globe. I'm an activist and a storyteller, and for me, film is a powerful tool to build global communities, to promote peace and justice, and to amplify the voices of those who don't necessarily always have a opportunity to tell their stories directly to audiences. I first went down to Guatemala in early 2012 with the Nobel Women's Initiative, and I actually was with Tantoo on that delegation, and we traveled throughout the country listening to testimonies of women who were involved in mining and land defense struggles. The Nobel Women's Initiative introduced me to Rights Action and Grahame Russell, and we became good friends, and he really opened the door for me to meet Angelica, Maria, Raul, and Herman. Without that introduction, I don't think I would have been able to capture those stories and to form the friendships that we have. I think the message, we went out for dinner tonight and we were talking about what we really wanted audiences to take away. And for me, Defensora is about, it's really about us as Canadians seeing that there is a direct link between what's happening here in Canada and what's happening in Guatemala, and that it's not just a Guatemalan problem, that it really is our companies who are in different parts of the world with questionable practices, committing human rights violations and environmental harms. And at some point, we need to take a stand about that. And I think just lastly, I'll say before I pass on the mic, that if there's anything that, really, if you think about it, across the world, people are saying no to resource extraction. People across Guatemala are saying no to Canadian mining companies. People in Canada are saying no to fracking, no to pipelines. And at some point, we need to all stand up in solidarity and just continue to say no. So I think that's what I'm on. Thank you.
Hi, Murray. I'm Murray Klippenstein, one of the... Silence that guy. Somebody, I'm used to being shut down, but I keep coming back. Murray Klippenstein, one of the lawyers in the case so far, and I want to congratulate Rachel on her movie. I'm going to ask for your support in a minute to give a powerful round of applause to Angelica and everyone else. And I'm going to ask you to send a message back to Guatemala, to the folks here in a minute, of support and solidarity. But first of all, this is a celebration of sorts. I think the film tells the background story, and good things happened. Angelica and Herman and Rosa and Margarita won in court in a precedent-setting decision, as you saw in the epilogue note, in July. For the first time ever in Canadian history, Canadian mining companies, and maybe more broadly speaking, Canadian companies are now facing the possibility of being sued in Canada for what their operations do abroad. It's the first time ever. It's time. And it's an amazing development, thanks to Angelica and the others. The decision has been very widely noted and commented on by major law firms in Canada and abroad. And let me just give you a sampling of some of the headlines from the articles that various major corporate law firms have posted on their law blogs. Headlines saying, corporate social responsibility a new era of transnational corporate liability for human rights violations, ? Another major law firm has a headline, Ontario judgment opens doors to increased risk for Canadian mining companies working abroad. And when there's increased risk, then they have to respond by stopping killing and raping people. Another major headline from another major Canadian resource law firm, a warning for Canadian corporations with foreign subsidiaries, and on and on and on. There's been so much chatter. A major Canadian legal magazine informed us that they were considering naming this court decision one of the top 10 business decisions of 2013. And I say that's great, because that causes all the lawyers and all the corporate firms and corporations to advise their directors and managers that if you do this kind of stuff, you're going to get sued. So this is, in a way, great, fantastic news. It's thanks to Angelica and Herman and Rosa and Margarita, and especially thanks to Grahame, without whom this would never have happened, and my colleague Corey. I think it's a wonderful step forward. But at the same time, there's so many difficulties happening. There's actually a Globe article yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, describing how the company down there is putting enormous pressure on the plaintiffs to settle their cases, threatening them with all sorts of things. So this is a very much an ongoing struggle. But it's really nice to be here to celebrate good news. I'm going to ask you to show your support for Angelica and on the folks back in Guatemala who have to put up with this in a daily, in their daily lives. I mean, we expect when the armies of one country invade another that there will be shootings and murders and rapes, but that shouldn't happen when a Canadian company goes down to Guatemala, and that's what's happening, and it's happened. They're fighting back. We're making progress, but I would ask you, it's tough for them. I'd ask you to, have a round of applause that they could take back to Guatemala.
Hi, I'm Corey. I want to pick up on a couple of things that Murray said, and also something that Herman said in the film. He said that he was very proud of what they've accomplished. And I just want to say that we are incredibly proud of him. We're incredibly proud of Angelica. We're incredibly proud of Maria and Rosa and Olivia and Lucia and all of the others who are fighting in the struggle. What they have done is truly remarkable. They have gotten farther in a human rights lawsuit than any other community in Canadian courts ever. And that's no small accomplishment, and it's something that is already changing things. Murray referenced earlier some of the comments that are going on. These are comments that the law firms are writing for their mining firm clients. It goes directly to them, and it says, you have to watch out. And when we went and met with Angelica and the communities, we spoke about the possibility of the lawsuit. It was done to get accountability for what had happened, but also the communities in Guatemala recognized that they don't want what happened to them to happen to anybody else. And the real hope from this lawsuit is that you create risk in Canada, and maybe, just maybe, next time, Adolfo would be here. And with this court victory in July, that process is starting. And I just want to read one line from one of the case comments. It says, Choc and Hudbay may usher in potential expanded exposure to risks and liabilities for Canadian corporations doing business abroad, not only in the natural resources sector, but also in various other sectors, including banking, manufacturing, retailing, and telecommunications. And that is Angelica's victory, that is Herman's victory, that is Rosa's victory, that is Margarita's victory, that is all of their victories.
I'm now going to pass the microphone first to Rachel Small with the Mining and Justice Solidarity Network, and then to Judy Deutsch with the Science for Peace. And I just want to point out that that there are many different groups and people that are involved in this struggle, as there are in many different struggles. And I'm very appreciative of the roles both of them are playing, not only in this struggle, but in other work that they're going to go on and mention. I'm thankful for the role that Breaking the Silence is playing both in Guatemala with their folks in Guatemala and on the East Coast in supporting this struggle and many other mining-related struggles. Here tonight are folks from Operation Groundswell, a Canadian-based NGO that's taken a number of solidarity delegations into the communities, bringing the Canadian solidarity into the communities to meet with and support them. And then out west, I'm very thankful for the role played by the University of Northern British Columbia and Professor Catherine Nolan, who since 2004 has been taking study groups to go in and investigate and report on these issues. All of our struggles together are part of the trickle up activism that we need to move forward inch by inch in this type of struggle. So, Rachel.
Yeah, my name is Rachel Small, and I organize here in Toronto with the Mining and Justice Solidarity Network, as Graham mentioned. Maybe I'll start by introducing us. We're a very grassroots volunteer group. We're not even registered as a nonprofit. We're just a group of people who really care about these issues and feel that it is really crucial to hold Canadian mining companies accountable right here in Toronto, where so many of their offices are, where they hold their meetings, where they raise the capital for these projects. So that's basically all that we do all the time. We've been involved for a number of years in supporting Angelica, supporting the communities in that part of Guatemala, and in working in actually many of the places that popped up in that map that was in the video, and more recently a number of places that weren't on that map. Very recently we've been active in supporting communities in Greece and Romania, for example, in organizing against Canadian mining projects there. But maybe instead of talking more about all the different things and all the different communities that we've had the pleasure of working with, I would invite anyone to approach me after and to sign up on our newsletter at the back. And there are many, many ways to get involved in the work we do. We also have a pamphlet at the back that's specifically focused on Canadian mining in Mesoamerica, where we've really focused in the inside on naming and remembering and paying homage to, as I read here, a few of the fallen, killed because they wouldn't stop the struggle, and we list many people on this pamphlet who, as the police did, were killed while trying to defend their territory and their people. But maybe because the work that I understand that we do is really about connecting the dots and really about trying to link up different people and different communities and different struggles in a way that we can really make meaningful change. Maybe I'll just highlight two connections here. You saw in the video really briefly, there was a scene outside of the courthouse where Hudbay's dirty laundry was on display. On that very same day that we organized alongside local Idle No More organizers to do a roundup outside that courtroom to show quite visibly the Canadians and the people from all over who are standing in opposition to this project. On that very same day, a community named the Matthias Cologne Cree Nation in Manitoba had issued a second stop work order to a Hudbay mine that was on their territory and remains on their territory in northern Manitoba. I want to highlight this for the obvious reason that there are many communities who are fighting against Hudbay mines, and it's been amazing to see the linkages begin to form and the unity begin to grow between these communities. And there's a lot more that I could say about this, but maybe I'll give another example as well. This summer, I had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time in Elsipogtog, which is the community that in the last 2 weeks has been very much in the news for standing up against Swin, an American fracking company that is stealing and harming and destroying their traditional and current territory. And I'm bringing up these examples because we as MISN take the role of accountability very seriously, and it's been amazing to see the number of people who are beginning to hold Canadian companies accountable, but I also think it's really important for us to hold ourselves accountable, and not only with our investments, not only with the actions of our government, but also to really look at the colonization that's happening here. And we treat that as a very important part of how we hold ourselves accountable, to remember that colonization is not just about conquistadors and conquest and residential schools and really this extractive industry, but it's about the millions of us who are living on this land, pursuing our own freedom, pursuing our own dreams, and how often that really comes at the expense of Indigenous communities. And I know that the other people on this panel will speak more to this, but for me, to explain the work that the Mining and Justice Solidarity Network does is to explain really that depth of accountability and what that really search for justice looks like here in Toronto. And I would love to speak with anyone after about joining with us to organize more laundry lines outside of future corporate meetings. We released a banner inside the Hudbay Annual General Meeting attached to 300 balloons, which they had a really hard time getting down, which said Hudbay Minerals Corporate Criminals. And there we were joined with Chief Arlen Dumas of the Matthias Klippenstein Nation and his brother Clayton Thomas Mueller and a number of members of their community. And yeah, I think it's really important to continue to, I'm really grateful for this documentary that you made and for all these attempts to connect the dots in the legal system, in our travels abroad, looking at where our apartments and our houses here in Toronto stand on Six Nations and Mississauga and New Credit territory, and just to continue to hold this complexity.
I want to also express my gratitude for being able to participate in this and over the years to support rights action and to see this really wonderfully moving film that I think speaks to what's most important, which is how people, what does that happen, what happens to people in these situations. And also, I strongly support the Mining and Justice Solidarity work. It's been wonderful over the years to be able to hear also firsthand from people from, Tanzania, Papua New Guinea, Fort Chip, and so many people from Latin America and Central America too. So Science for Peace, I have 2.5 minutes to talk. I'm going to share the time with Vanessa. And I just want to touch on a couple things. One is, on November 7th, we'll have a talk by Lisa North, who I think is in the audience, who is an expert on mining in Latin America and the Canadian government. So I wanted to focus on maybe two things. One is just to keep some history on our minds. Things that pretty much aren't part of the usual narrative about Canada, and to say that this is really, this is such a different take on what Canada is about, and it brings up our challenge what democracy is, as well as the interactions between economics and social justice in the environment. I was in Guatemala a couple of years ago as part of the International Health Tribunal to hear people's testimonies about how they were affected in Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. And almost all the testimonies spoke about death, miscarriages, paramilitary killing, the effects of contamination of soil and water. And this is the human side of it. And this is something that if you look at the business pages, it's never. This is quite an externality that's never acknowledged in any way. Canada is so complicit, the Canadian government, with with what's going on, the people from CETA and Department of Foreign Affairs who have actually collaborated with governments in other countries just to protect the extraction industry and to prevent any kind of regulation. And I think it's important to realize that this also very much preceded the Harper government, although things in so many ways have been worse. In 2005, there was an all-parliamentary committee recommendation to the Canadian government to regulate Canadian mining extraction industries. There were a couple of recommendations. One was to stop using taxpayer money to support destructive Canadian mining projects abroad, to hold the Canadian mining companies legally accountable for environmental and human rights violations, and to force the World Bank to respect international human rights. Well, that recommendation, which is quite amazing to think that that would come from an all-parliamentary committee, was outright rejected by Pierre Pettigrew and by Paul Martin. So again, you have to wonder what is democracy that two people could block something like that, could make that decision. I was also wanting to mention the military and paramilitary connection with mining. Certainly it came up, in the film, and I think that this is also like something that has to be really kept in mind all the time. That the neoliberal market economy is intrinsically related to the military, and there's been articles this week about a Malaysian company, Petronas, that is the largest foreign direct investment in Canada now that Stephen Harper fully supports, and they've been fully implicated in the military, assaults in Sudan, and another company I think that's really well connected with this is Bear Gold in Tanzania and Papua New Guinea, as well as Talisman in Sudan. But the most shocking one I want to bring up, because it's not known at all, I just read it in a book by Alain Denol, that is a terrific investigator and historian about all this, and I recommend his works. It has to do with the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and where he asked the question about whether market considerations in the very first place was what led to the two wars in the Congo that involved Rwanda and Uganda, and then the Kabila. This led to now what's estimated to be 8 million deaths. So, the seriousness of the Canadian government's, involvement in violations and protection of extraction industries is so core to, what Canada's about now, that it really needs to be addressed, I think, by all Canadians. So,
Ani, bonjour. Vanessa Gray, Aamjiwnaang. Hello, I'm Vanessa Gray. I'm from the Aamjiwnaang First Nation Reservation in Sarnia, Ontario. I'm honored to be sitting up here with these people. I'm feeling really emotional after seeing that film, because a lot of what was said is what I have said about the Canadian government moving in on the Aamjiwnaang territory, where they are poisoning the land and the water and the air, and I see my family being affected, and my health has been heavily affected by companies putting profits before the health of the land and the people. And I realized something very important when I was watching this film that I've sort of thought about before, but it's more obvious that the most threatening thing to the Canadian government is sticking up for Mother Earth. I've always wondered why. Like, why me? Why am I in this ginormous fight? I'm just awkward Vanessa Gray. But then watching these women stand up for what is right is the most beautiful, breathtaking thing I've ever seen. And I think it's the Indigenous women of this earth that are going to make this change. And I feel so empowered after seeing this film. This job can be very hard. I noticed there's a sticker on, I think it was your door or somebody's door in the film, where it's like, "We'll work for world peace," and I'm like, that's basically the job. There's no paycheck that I see. There's people, there's minds awakening. That's my paycheck. I like seeing people. I like seeing people's knowledge expand and their minds explode with like, wow, the Canadian government is guilty. They are guilty. And this film will help me move forward with knowing that there is incredible support with other Indigenous women I got to see in the film. I'm actually blown away. I'm just brought to tears by allies like Judy and Rachel and everyone here who is in support of us, because I don't think it's possible without the support, without us working together. So thank you for having me.
I'd like to introduce our last panel member, Tantoo Cardinal, and as I said, Tantoo and I met down in Guatemala. She is an award-winning, talented Canadian actress and an activist whose work I admire very much. So, Tantoo Cardinal.
Thank you for doing that film. When we were on that trip, we went to Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and we heard the stories of Indigenous women in those countries. And it makes your heart and soul bleed what's going on there. And Indigenous people are the targets. And there's impunity. The government, the military, corporations, judicial system, psychology, powerlessness, all of a sudden having this world of impunity. They can do anything to women that they choose to do, and women have no recourse. When we got to Honduras, there had just been a journalist shot in the middle of the day on the courthouse steps, and there's nothing anybody could do about it. Human rights activists put their lives in danger, their children's lives in danger, their families' lives in danger by standing up for human rights. And this woman is full of courage. I pray protection for her and her family and everybody who's involved in the struggle for awareness. When we were in Guatemala, we went and visited the Canadian ambassador. A couple of things. One is that, you know what Canadian government and companies are doing over there? They're pretending that the Canadian government has human rights at the top of their list of concerns. They're still living off of old Lester B's Nobel Peace Prize way back when. They're going in there lying to people, really trusting people. One thing you'll find about people is that how we get duped is it's not in our brain process that people are that ugly, that they have that deep, deep greed and ulterior motives, and they'll do absolutely anything to do what it is that they're going to do. They got no heart. The second thing is when we were meeting with the ambassador, the Canadian ambassador in Guatemala, I heard the very same things that the oil and gas companies were telling our people. I was born in Fort McMurray, by the way, the heart of tar sands. I guess that's where I get that curdled blood from. But the very same things is what he was telling us, that this mining is going to bring wealth into the communities. It's going to bring better roads, better education system. It's going to be, really great for human rights. The very same things that they told us, and look, humans are dying in my territory. People are sick, four-leggeds are sick, winged ones are sick, creatures of the water are sick, who lives in the land is sick, our medicine is sick, our trees are sick, everything is sick over there. That's what those people brought. If there's profit, there's loss. They get the profit, we get the loss. And that's the way it is. Oh gee, I was got carried away in a sidetrack there. So, nothing has changed much since Louis Riel was hanged for standing up for human rights, because the only laws that were established at that time that the railroad was being built was company laws for Hudson's Bay Company, Northwest Company. That's why he was hanged, because our provisional government's mandate was to get human rights laws established in the territory before that railroad came through. That's why he was hanged, not because he was crazy. If he was crazy, they drove him crazy, that's for sure. So that creature is still alive. And we have a creature in our stories. It's called Wichtago. Wichtago. That's a creature of greed. He's obsessed, possessed. There's nothing that can satisfy this creature. There are certain people with vision that are connected with the right power, that know the ceremony, and it takes the entire community coming together in honest, earnest prayer and activity to kill this Wichtago. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to remember, each and every one of us, we're born connected to Grandmother Earth. A lot of people have been duped into being separated from that reality. And this is what our sisters bring in this film, the heart of Mother Earth, the heart of Father Sky. That's in our traditions. That's what's kept us alive all this time. Certainly wasn't the government, certainly wasn't corporations. It was the great power and energy of creative force. That's the most powerful energy that there is. And I think history shows us that there's no way through this thing until we throw aside and make a commitment to that kinder, gentler, loving energy. That's where we got to get our energy from that place of love. Because that greedy way is carcinogenic, and it's not good for our species. Already we've gone too far. Already we're in trouble. But I guess that's really what I wanted to say, is that, you know, you're here because you're part of the chorus. You're part of the converted unless you're an infiltrator. And we have to get rid of that colonializing, that manifest destiny, that idea that old white men have the power. I don't know how else to explain it. But, you know, that it's up to each and every one of us as individuals to remember that we are a child of Grandmother Earth. That is our responsibility. That's what we can give to the future. That's what we can give our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren. Because this direction that we're going in now, thank you for your legal work. Thank you for your activism. Thank you for your persistence. And God help us and God bless us. Thank you.
For folks that want more information about mining-related harms in Canada and internationally in general, we just have to recognize the work of Mining Watch out of Ottawa. Their website's miningwatch.ca. They're an incredibly important clearinghouse. But then, as we've heard from the panel tonight, these issues are not just about mining. They're about many different industries operating inside our borders and around the world. One of our purposes with this panel was, yes, we wanted to focus attention on this one story, this one struggle, these incredibly precedential setting lawsuits that really are signifying a tiny turning point. But we also wanted to invite people to remind us that this evening's not just about one struggle, these lawsuits in one country, in one company. It's about how this is a very common practice. And that Hudbay is not a bad apple in an otherwise good industry. It's an industry-wide issue, and it's not just the mining industry, it's oil and gas, it's sweatshops, etc. And these are very intertwined and overlapping issues, and we all, as you've heard many times, we are in many different ways, more than we like to admit, connected to all of these issues, and we have to address all the connections. So I invite folks to get on the mailing list, get a copy of the film. This is just the beginning of the process to start releasing this film across Canada. You can contact the filmmakers directly or Rights Action to organize screenings in the future. And then please make a donation on your way out. I've already explained what that will be for. And so now I'd like to invite up Angelica, and again, thank you, Olympia Boilo, for your translation for Angelica, to make your final comments to close the evening.
And for you as well.
Yeah, just before Angelica speaks, I wanted to introduce one last special guest in the audience. The executive producer of the film, Lean Tougher, is here today. She's over here. And without her help and her financial investment in raising funds for the film, it would have been possible. So thank you, Lean.
Bueno, Olimpia.
All right, Olympia, here we go.
Bueno. Sí. Espero que les haya gustado. Esta es la realidad. Esta no es una película de Rambo, de Sylvester Stallone. No, esa es la vida real de los pobres que trabajan la tierra y que están siendo desalojados de sus propias tierras y que están siendo despojados de sus recursos naturales.
Thank you. I hope you liked it. That is our reality. It's not any Rambo movie, it's not any Sylvester Stallone movie, that's not it at all. That's the reality of the people that work the land every day, of the poor people that have been kicked out of their lands.
Le doy gracias a la Madre Tierra de recuperar esa energía. Me sentí tan dolida, tan lastimada cuando estaba viendo la película, porque eso es lo que he sufrido. Sentí que ya no más, que ya no tenía fuerza, pero sí, ya lo tengo, y esa fuerza yo le doy gracias a mi Dios y a la Madre Tierra.
I thank Mother Earth because I recovered, I got back my energy. While I was watching the movie, the documentary, I was so hurt. I was so hurt. That was my suffering, that is my suffering. I had no more energy while I was watching it. And I thank God and I thank Mother Earth for giving back my energy now.
¿Ya están cansados? No, ¿verdad?
Are you tired? No, right?
Yo les voy a contar algo. Que los seres queridos que se han ido siempre están.
I'm going to tell you something. The loved people that have departed continue to be with us, always.
Quiero contarles. Solo al ver la imagen de mi esposo, yo lo adoro y lo amo tanto. Para mí, él existe y está en mi corazón.
I want to tell you, upon seeing the images of my loved husband, I adore him. I love him so much. And he continues to be here and to be with me.
Quiero contarles algo. Aquí todos ya son grandes. Aquí todos ya saben lo que es la vida y lo que es vivir en pareja. Quiero contarles que mi esposo anda conmigo. No me ha dejado. Y lo más lindo, la noche de ayer lo soñé. Y hoy que lo veo y lo vi, fue tan lindo el sueño. Cuando desperté, me recordé que él ya no vivía. Pensé que era cierto que él estaba conmigo. Él me estaba abrazando como cualquier pareja. Lo abrazaba, él me abrazaba, nos reía. Me abrazaba fuertemente, pero en uno de esos me soltó, se dio la vuelta. Y en ese momento, ¿por qué se da la vuelta? Me dolió tanto, ahí fue donde desperté. Pero eso fue un sueño lindo, por eso digo que Él vive y está en mi corazón.
I'd like to share something with you. I think in this room we're all adults, we've all experienced relationships. My husband, he was my relationship. He left me, he did not leave me. Last night I had a dream with him. And then today when I saw him in the documentary, it was so nice to see him. In my dream, it was such a nice dream. And then I awoke, and I realized that he wasn't there anymore. I thought it was so real. In this dream, he was hugging me, and we were laughing and hugging, just like any couple. And then something happened, he let go, and he turned around. And I got so upset, I asked why. And then I awoke.
Bueno, yo les voy a hablar un poco respecto de la película. Como se dieron cuenta, yo ya les había dicho que eso es muy impactante. Me duele ver a mi hermana María. Cuando yo lo estaba viendo dije, ¿dónde está mi hermanita? Como ella decía, ella tuvo la dicha de levantar el cadáver de mi esposo, y esa misma fuerza y ese mismo dolor le ha dado fuerza a ella para seguir en la resistencia.
I'd like to say a couple of words about the film. As I mentioned, it's a shocking film. It hurts me to see Maria, my sister, in the film. I was keeping an eye out for her in the film. And as she said, she is the one that lifted my husband's dead body off the ground. And it was that lifting of him off the ground that has given her the strength to continue on with this struggle, to continue on with this resistance.
Y como decía Germa, él está muy orgulloso de la lucha que él está haciendo. Se gane o no se gane, pero él va a estar orgulloso, dice. Y yo, se gane, es una gran alegría, una gran historia, no solo para mí, para todos los que estamos en la lucha. Y si no se gana, volvería a sufrir el dolor terrible que yo sufrí el 27 de septiembre del 2009. Volverán a lastimar y a golpear y a deshacer mi corazón nuevamente. Porque mi demanda es justo y es real lo que la Hudbay cometió con mi familia. Y es muy doloroso. Yo sí exijo justicia y que se haga justicia.
And as Herman was saying in the film, he is very proud of his struggle, beyond winning or not winning. For me, if we win, it will be a great happiness, and it will be a great event in history for all of us who are participating in this struggle. And if we don't win, I would go back and I would go through all the suffering since the September 27th, 2009 murder that happened. I would do it all again because I know that I'm fighting for justice, and I will not stop until justice is served.
Yo quiero felicitar a todas las organizaciones que han acercado y que se han involucrado a nuestra lucha. Una canción que se escuchaba. Una canción que escribió mi esposo y lo cantó. Nunca pensé que lo iba a dejar escrito y con música para que yo esa canción escuchara, y con esa canción yo iba a agarrar fuerza, resistencia para seguir defendiendo la tierra que él defendía. Esa tierra es la tierra del níquel en el Estor Izabal, y que Hudbay está deshaciendo y nos está despojando de nuestra riqueza en nuestro pueblo.
I would like to congratulate all the organizations that have come up to us and that have gotten involved in this struggle. In the film, there was a song that my husband wrote and sung. I never thought that song that he sang, that he left recorded, would be the song that would give me the strength, that would continue to give me the strength for me to continue on with this struggle, for all of us to continue on with this struggle, for us to defend the land in El Estor, the land that is full of nickel, that is so rich, and that we're going to continue defending against any kind of exploitation or expropriation.
Algo que yo quiero decirles a ustedes, hermanos canadienses: yo detesto el racismo. Todos somos hijos de un solo Dios y de una sola madre, y esa madre es la tierra que nos da vida y que nos da de comer. Y por eso mismo todos, no solo los pueblos indígenas, deben de defender esa tierra. Todos, indígenas, no indígenas, todos valemos y tenemos los mismos valores y derechos.
I would like to share something with you, my brothers, my Canadian brothers and sisters. I hate racism. We are all sons and daughters of the same God, and we all have the same mother. It's Mother Nature, it's the mother that nurtures us. And as such, it's not just the role of First Nations communities, of Indigenous communities to defend our land and Mother Nature. It's the role of all of us to stand up for Mother Nature.
Felicito a mis hermanos que están luchando aquí en Canadá, en diferentes puntos de este país, y que están en la resistencia para defender su tierra. Yo los felicito. Sigamos luchando hasta donde podamos. No tengamos miedo, porque la tierra es nuestra, y no es justo que uno y dos se enriquecen de nuestras riquezas.
I congratulate my brothers and sisters who are doing similar struggles here in Canada, in different points of the country, in resistance against different forms of resource extraction. I congratulate you, and I ask for all of us to keep going as far as we can and as much as we can, because it's our land, and we must not have fear because it's our land. It is not just that one or two people will become enriched from raping all of the goods of our land.
Como decía, la lucha es de todos y de todas. Y estoy contenta de ver a las personas que se interesen, que le ponen importancia o que están aquí presentes. Pero lo que yo digo, tomémoslo en el corazón, trabajemos, vivámoslo, no solo de escuchar, luchemos, no solo oigamos, no solo vayamos a ver, no, nosotros somos parte de esa lucha, nosotros tenemos ese derecho y ese valor de hablar. No se encierren más en mis compañeras mujeres. Muchas veces nosotros somos humilladas, muchas veces nosotros somos desposeídas, que nosotros no sabemos nada, que las mujeres no valen, que las mujeres no pueden tomar decisión. Claro que sí lo podemos. Claro que sí podemos exigir nuestros derechos, porque hay derechos que nos amparan.
And I ask for all of us to continue on in this struggle. This struggle belongs to all of us. I'm happy today because I see so many people that have come up, that have shown interest, that are becoming aware of what's happening. And I say, let's put this in our hearts. Let's live this. Let's not just listen about it or talk about it. Let's work on this together. Don't just listen about these talks. We're all part of this struggle, especially for my fellow women. Oftentimes we're humiliated, we're belittled, we're told that we don't know things, that we can't make decisions, and that's not true. We have the right and we must stand up for our rights.
Creo que mi tiempo está terminando. Aquí ponen leyes, ponen barreras, dicen que controlan sus fronteras, pero yo digo que yo los puedo pasar, los puedo saltar. ¿Me está escuchando, Gran? Bueno, yo les felicito de verdad por participar, también agradecerles. Yo seguiré luchando, espero que ustedes se involucren a nuestra lucha. Mi llegada aquí no es fácil, es muy duro, pero yo estoy muy agradecido con esa lucha y estoy muy agradecido con la organización que nos ha apoyado, que ha vivido nuestra realidad, que nos ha acompañado en los momentos más dolorosos en nuestras comunidades. Como ustedes se dieron cuenta en la película, ¿hasta dónde? ¿Hasta en qué rincón de mi Guatemala Cory, Grahame han llegado? Ellos no vienen a contar historias que no lo han vivido, porque sí lo han vivido con nosotros. Me podrán ver con ellos o con él en la calle, jugando, corriendo, empujándonos, porque sabemos muy bien que lo necesitamos. Necesitamos esa energía, necesitamos vencer las tristezas, el dolor que nos causan las empresas, los grandes monstruos que están deshaciendo de nuestras tierras, de nuestros recursos naturales. Gracias a Grahame, gracias a Cory, a Mori, hemos trabajado fuerte. Ellos son unos abogados humildes, honrados, y estoy muy agradecido con mi Dios, con el Ajau, porque cuando vamos a las cortes, no solo vamos y corremos y llegamos ahí, no. Nuestra cultura, el valor de nuestra cultura, lo tenemos, y esa fuerza es lo que nos ayuda, y esa fuerza y esa resistencia lo tiene Cory, lo tiene Mori, lo tiene Grahame, y lo pueden tener ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Congratulations for being here here, and thank you for coming to see the film and for sharing this moment. I will continue on this struggle, and I hope that you will too. It's been hard to be here, it's been hard to come here, and I'm very thankful for the organizations that have shared in this struggle, that have accompanied us in this struggle, that have come and supported us in our hardest times, that have been there year in and year out. I thank Corey, I thank Grahame, for they've been there, they've come, you've seen in the film how far they had to come to be with us, what a tiny corner of Guatemala we are in, how isolated we are. They've come with us, they've joked with us, they've pushed us around jokingly, we've played together, we've done all sorts of things to lift each other's morale up, because we know that we need that to triumph over the evil corporations that are trying to exterminate us, that are trying to kill us. They know about the pain that we have, and that we need a little bit of joking around to make us feel a little bit better, to give us the strength to carry on. I thank Corey, I thank all of the lawyers that are supporting us. They're good lawyers. They know what they're doing, and they're good people. I thank the AHAW. When we talk about going to court, when we talk about lawsuits, it's not just like we go up there, we're running, we go up the steps and we go into the courtroom. That's not how it works. We're empowered by the AHAW. We're empowered by our spirituality. We share that power, and we know that that power is also allowing Grahame and the lawyers to continue on with their work. And we know also that that AHAW can also empower you in the work that you're doing. So I encourage you to keep on with the struggle as well. Thank you.
Para terminar, les digo que yo les quiero en mi corazón. Estaré regresando a mi país, a mi Guatemala linda. Cuando llego ahí y veo las montañas, los ríos, los lagos, yo lloro. Los lloro porque tengo que cruzar valles y montañas para ir a defenderlos. Pero llego de corazón y con mucha alegría. Amo mucho a mi Guatemala. Yo los invito a ustedes. Espero que lleguen. Han llegado delegaciones. Ha llegado Mónica. Ha llegado Benjamín. Ha llegado Raquel. Y muchos más, los que estamos aquí, han llegado. Y si tú no has llegado, puedes llegar. Te espero allá. Los esperamos allá para que vayan a comer tortilla con frijol y con chile. Pero lo damos de corazón porque es de eso y esa es nuestra vida. Muchas gracias, me voy, hasta pronto.
I would like to close by saying that I'm returning to Guatemala. And when I go back and I see the rivers and the mountains, I cry. And I cry because it's those very rivers and mountains that I have to cross in order to come and defend them. Defend those rivers and mountains. I invite you to come. Come on a delegation. Monica has come, Ben has come, Rachel has come. Many of you here have come in delegations. Have you not come yet? Come on over. Come on over. We'll make tortillas. We'll make beans and chilies. We'll share life together. We'll share part of our lives. I ask you to please come on over and be part of the struggle.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. So
she's a social worker. Addictions, getting addictions.
about the land. Yeah, he was.
I think she went, yeah. She was great.